you can't lose. There's learning and there's winning. There's no losing. You know, you get that fear of failure. Like, there is no failure. People can approach me, I'm never moody, I'm never upset. Why? Because I don't have a sense of self-importance. I'm like, well, I should be good, so my team's good. If there is a problem, then I need to shield my team from that problem. That comes a bit from sport, where it's like, protect your coach. You're playing for the coach. In tough times, right? I thought I was so resilient, and she said, but what I found out was resilience is a muscle. No one's born resilient. No. There's only one way to become resilient, and that's bad things happening, and you getting over it and coming back from it.
I am so excited, as I always say. Our speakers and the community are the best parts of our 2-day intensives, and I'm a little bit starstruck to have Bruce here today. So I think when we look at high performance and we look at what it actually takes to build a high-performing team, we always look to sports, and we always think that they give us the basics that sometimes in business we forget. And so our next guest has lived being under pressure, when stakes are everything, when you are on stage, when everyone is looking at you to achieve. Bruce is Adelaide United's second highest. I saw you corrected that. I had all-time highest goal scorer and former Socceroo. He's played professionally across Turkey, China, South Korea and Indonesia before returning to Adelaide United as the Director of Football. Today he's the Executive Director of the Property Council of Australia, South Australian Division, leading advocacy for the state's largest employer. He works directly with government, industry and the media on the policy decisions shaping South Australia's economic future, from tax and planning reform to investment, attraction and city building. He's also the Deputy Chair of West Beach Trust and Advisory Board member of Comfresh, and a football analyst on Network 10 and Paramount Plus. I just think he is one of the all-round great guys. There is much more in here, but I'm actually going to let you ask him the questions and him tell you. So in our absolute PCA style, if you've got your computers in front of you, move it. Can we please give Bruce a very, very warm welcome? Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, so much fun to have you here. And I think at the moment, we were just saying, everyone feels burnt out, tired, exhausted, like it's a new financial year and yet it feels like the end of the financial year. And talking high performance and mindset and shift, I think is something that we all need right now. So to get us started, tell me about, in your view, what high performance actually feels like and looks like to you.
I think it's the same thing. I try to compare sport with the white collar sort of business world that I currently live in. It's the same thing, but in order to achieve it, it's quite different. You know, in sport, it's relatively easier. Why? Because by the time you are in the change room of a professional sporting club, it means you've got resilience, it means you've persevered, it means you've gone through adversity, you're there to win, you're there to be the best. That culture is inherent in the bones of all the people in that change room, right? So to get them to row all in the same direction and have the harmony and all the other things and a lot of attributes that we'll talk about a little bit later, it's actually a little bit easier. It actually is. I think in the workplaces that we all work in now, it's a lot trickier. Some people are looking for another job while they're working for you. Some people are there just because they've got a huge mortgage that they need to pay. Some people are there because they actually do want to be the best and have all those great attributes around resilience, perseverance, etc. Some people are there because they do want to win or they do want to get promoted and they want to be the CEO one day, etc. Right? So to get that group of people all on the same page, rowing in the same direction, is challenging. But if you can do it, and when you're successful at it, you can tell.
Yep.
And it's not just you as a leader, it's everyone in the team can tell. There's accountability, and a lot of these are buzzwords, but it's true. There's accountability, you can give open and honest feedback, and it's taken in the right way because there's the trust element and respect within the team where people know that feedback's coming, whether it's positive or constructive criticism. They know it's come from the right place because you just want an improvement in whatever the performance might be. So I think that is a real, in sport, high performing sport, even the worst teams generally have that anyway. But I think in an office environment, not many teams have it. Someone gives someone else feedback, they feel like they're being attacked. They're not. So you've all experienced it. But I think, in that high performing unit, that high performing team, clear vision, clear goal, everyone's on the same page, everyone's striving to achieve it. And when there is bumps in the road, the feedback, etc., is taken in the right way so that they can improve to get to get to that goal.
Yeah, I mean, motivation, isn't it? Like when you're on the, on the field, you're all moving towards getting a goal, in, and you know what you're there to do. You win a premiership, or you've got that kind of critical motivation to try and succeed, and it's trying to unpick that a little bit with team, isn't it? So tell me about, what it takes to be an elite athlete. What's that journey been like? You obviously, moved into it, but what's the DNA and the things that you think are required to get into a field like you were in?
Yeah, I think it's very hard. That goes without saying, but I'm yet to come across a job, and I'm not a brain surgeon, or there's people who do much more important things than I do. I get that, and much more complicated things than I do. I get that, but I'm yet to come across a role where, like, elite sport's not a job; it's a lifestyle. It's everything. It's 24/7. Like what you eat, how much you drink. Like, you get a urine test every morning when you get to training to make sure you're hydrated. Have you drunk enough water in the morning? Have you drunk enough water overnight? Like, it would be like, I say this to my team sometimes, it would be like someone standing over your shoulder at work, pointing out every typo, every, it is constant feedback. You're on the field, your teammates giving you feedback, the coach is giving you feedback. You get to the weekend, tens of thousands of people are giving you feedback. There's no hiding, and then you got the challenges, right? You got injuries, you got the politics of sport. Trump overturned a red card the other day. This is a very political sport I decided to chase, so there is a lot of variables, a lot. So in order to arrive, like I said before, you need all the perseverance and resilience because things don't always go your way, but it's like full-time dedication. So my daughter's here at the back, Alia. School holidays. We talk about sacrifice in sport. I remember when Alia was born, I just moved to South Korea before she was born, and I tried to fly back for the birth, but missed that. So there's significant sacrifice. Coach allowed me to be back for 3 days, and I had to go back. We didn't have a passport, so she was too young to fly, so I had to wait. So there's a lot of things that go into it before you even get to what are you like technically? How fit are you? What do you like in the air? What do you like, passing, shooting? Like, there's so many things. It's a real lifestyle choice. Whereas I'm sure not many people in this room are able to switch off, but everyone gets an opportunity to go on holidays and relax. Even on holidays as a sports person, might not be kicking a ball, but you've got to stay active, you've got to stay fit. You might do tennis, you might do some rowing.
There's no annual leave.
There's no annual leave.
There's no days off.
No.
Discipline though, I think it's a DNA. You see it in every sports player. You don't need to be tough on them because they're probably normally the toughest on themselves. What and where do you think that discipline came from for you? Did you have it at a young age? How did you develop that discipline and work ethic? Because that's what it really is. You're working at your craft on an ongoing basis to be excellent at something.
Yeah, and you do need discipline because you work so hard and you're going to get that much better.
Yeah.
It's just like, you need to be able to keep doing that and build on it. I think having migrant parents helps. Back in the day, they're still the same today. Migrant parents have real high expectations generally of their kids. And it's always the same. Be a dentist, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And mine were no different. My mum's from Togo, my dad's from Ivory Coast. Their son playing soccer was not their dream because everyone in those countries are trying to become professional footballers and not many make it. So, in their view, it was, we've made all these sacrifices, we've worked so hard to get over here and you just want to kick a piece of leather around, So there was a little bit of that pressure at home on the academic side, which I think is a good thing. And the discipline, I think, also comes from home, but it also comes from lessons learned, right? Like, you think you can get away with something, so you did 15 reps, not the 18 you were meant to do, or you did 6, and then you pull your hamstring. It's like, you know what? It's those 1%ers. You don't know, but you leave no stone unturned, and you start to do everything properly to give yourself the best opportunity, and that's in your bones. By the time you've got to do that to give yourself a chance to be professional, and like I said before, once you're in that change room, everyone's got that. Of course, there's outliers, right? There's the kid that never gets injured, that's just amazing, and doesn't seem to do any work in the gym. Like, yes, Messi, those people exist. Those people do exist. But at my level, it was very much do everything you can to give yourself the best chance.
The 1%ers. Teamwork. If you don't work in a team, you don't work. When it comes to certainly sport and what are the signs of a good team member? Like, what do you need to do, and what would the team spit out if it didn't work? So, what makes a good team?
I think you need a good club, right? So you need the right values and all those things, and then you need to recruit for your club. Right? Clubs have identities, clubs have styles. You need to recruit for that. I do it today in my day job. You can always have, trust and performance, right? Like, you need people who are high trust, high performance. Everyone wants that, and it's hard to find, right? And it takes time, right? You don't trust people straight away. They've got to prove themselves, in my view anyway. I think a good culture spits out outliers. Low trust, low performance. The boss doesn't have to, or the leader doesn't have to, performance manage that person out. Sometimes they do, because it's easier to get rid of sports players than it is in this world. I know. I've experienced that. They're not contracted; they're full-time, permanent employees. So I get that, but they will self-select out, right? Because if the environment's such and it's good, and they're not, they won't feel comfortable coming into work. They won't feel comfortable in a change room. They'll be held to account by their team members. The leader sets the tone, and then everything else should run really on autopilot. That's the ideal. It doesn't always happen, but you're often better off taking the low performer that you trust, because you can always teach someone, whether it's technical skills on a football field or operationally in a business, right? You can always teach someone that you trust to do better. And generally, if you trust someone, what are they going to do? They're going to work a bit harder, they're going to go the extra mile, they're not going to want to let you down, right? I think it's really dangerous, and in football in the last 15 years, I'd say, this does happen, where, high performer, low trust. It's that no dickhead policy. Like, those people don't get contracts anymore. Balotelli from Italy was a great example. Really high performer, one of the best strikers in the world. But God, you just couldn't control the bloke. So, you go from clubs like Inter Milan to basically nowhere, Man City, basically to nowhere, right? Is he a good player? Absolutely. real high performer, but geez, he'll destroy your club. He'll damage your change room. And it's the same in the workspace. You know, you get high performers that have low trust. They're spreading rumours, or you know, they're having cracks at other people because they're high performers, right? But it does, we call them cancers, and you've got to cut them out.
Yeah, toxic employees. And it's why a high performer, like the real judge of a high performer, is that they're aligned to your values, isn't
Absolutely.
it? And so, because if they're aligned to your values, then they naturally should be a great performer. Just talking about that and talking about culture, what makes a good culture? Like, what are some of the things that the organisation or the leaders or the team members can do to make a good culture?
I think inclusion's really important, you know, making everyone feel safe at work, that psychosocial safety, super important, especially in this day and age, because it's just different nowadays. Anyone who's employing younger people will know that. So that's a really important part. And also accountability, I think. As soon as you let someone get away with something, and then you pick it up on someone else, or there's inconsistency in how people are treated, you know, that's going to really damage your culture. I think accountability is so important. It's easier in sport because
it's measured, it's public,
it's measured every day, it's measured every weekend.
Got the analytics,
you got all the data, you know, numbers don't lie. The intangibles around culture, how people feel, etc. Harder to measure, impossible to measure, really. You can survey your staff and there is some measures.
Get them to do a job scorecard.
But
not as much,
But I think accountability is really important, and you know, you don't treat everyone exactly the same, but when you're holding people accountable, you've got to hold them to the same standard.
Consistency, accountability, and not walking past the standard that you don't accept, because you know, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept, and we've just literally covered that. I'm going to pick back on trust, only because I think that is such an important piece of the puzzle. And I know we have the joy of working with quite a lot of sporting teams, and one of the exercises that quite a lot of them do is each team member assesses the element of trust that they have with each other, and they have it on a particular pyramid. There's a whole model that they use on that. You know, is it an association that's just, hey, how you doing, how's the weather, or do they actually feel vulnerable around each other? And they actively work on how they build high trust with each other, because that determines the success of the team. And if they aren't willing to be vulnerable with each other, and they aren't willing to actually have each other's back, then it impacts the performance of the team. Have you had experience with any of that? Like, what did you do as a team to build that ongoing camaraderie? How do you do it authentically, but also, like, it just happens to be the thing, you just all seem to have each other's back on the field, off the field generally. How do you do that though?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I think every team's a little bit different, and it's small margins, right? So you've been really good teams, but you still didn't win. And you know, the team that, if I speak about here locally in 2016 when we did win, like, it was more than a team, it was more like a family. And that's a material difference, right? Like, everyone's going to each other's weddings, everyone was there for the births of each other's kids. It was more than football. It wasn't just about on-field performance, camaraderie, when the chips are down, do you have my back, or whatever. It was more than that. It was on the field, it was off the field. It was a real family unit, and I've always strived to achieve that. I don't reckon I've ever gotten there since. Right? In any team, in any other, in any organisation, football or outside. Been close, but not there. And I think you need the right people. Everyone's a little bit different, and that's great. You want that diversity, but the mix needs to be right. And that's really hard to do sometimes, especially in like our roles now. You know, forget the sport, but in our roles now, it's hard. Because inflation's high, salaries are going nuts, your best performers can always get a better opportunity elsewhere. It's like, there's a lot of things that make finding that perfect mix of people are very difficult.
Yeah. And it's hard because people want to switch off at the end of the day. It's not like they want to continue the conversation. And so, you know, I think it's one of the things when we look to organisations, how do you build trust in the organisation? It's a harder thing to do because it's almost earned, isn't it? It's kind of, you've got to earn your stripes around some of that space. What have you taken back into the workplace? So obviously disciplines around food and water and things like that, but what about other routines?
That's all gone now. That's
other
all
routines
gone now.
like, you know, with the weekly meetings or getting people on the same page or game plans, like, you know, you don't ever walk onto the field and not know who's doing what. What's some of the things that people can take back into the business world that sport just do so well?
It's funny, this is a really small thing, and it's a funny example because just on Monday, one of the guys in the office sent this reel on Instagram to the group chat and was like, "This is Bruce every morning and every afternoon." And it was Ange Postecoglou. He's just signed in Saudi Arabia at Al Nassr, Ronaldo's club. And he's walked in, he's given everyone that little high five, every single player, you know. And I'll tell you that story because one of the things I was taught as a teenager was like, shake everyone's hand when you get to training, all the players, all the coaches. You shake everyone's hand when you leave, because so much stuff happens on the field. It's about, you know, don't go to bed if you're upset with your partner.
Yes.
Like, you know, they didn't tell us that when I was 14, but it was, it's the same theory that applies today. Like, and I do that in the office, right? And they think it's kind of weird, but I think it's so normal. I just find it weird that people leave without saying goodbye, or that, you know, people just do a smoke bomb. Like, oh, where's Harry? Oh, he left 20 minutes ago. I was like, oh, he didn't even say bye. So, some of these things that they think are a little bit strange, I find that there's some good traits in it, and it's a small thing. I just use this as an example, right? That's just a small thing. But you're right. I think the work ethic is a real. I can't let it go, and you know, people. And it's interesting, right? Because when you're the leader, people look to you, your behaviours, how you act, how you show up, all these things. And you know, I've had some of my deputies sometimes come and say, hey, like, the junior staff feel like, and we don't have a big team, but it's like the junior staff feel like they should come in a bit earlier and work a bit more because you're always working. I'm like, am I always working? What do you mean? Like, because it's just different. I'm used to it being like a lifestyle, whereas this is like a job for most people. So it's like, not that they don't clock in at 8:30, leave at 5 on the dot. Some do, but generally no. And everyone's pretty flexible. I'm really happy with flexibility. You know, I'm here today. I'll catch up a little bit later today, this evening, over the weekend, whenever it works. But that whole, you're a bit of a workaholic, man. Like, you know, you should. But I don't feel that. I don't feel that. Because
when you love what you do.
When you love what you do, and that's right.
Are you motivated to do what you're here to do? That's the real thing. I think it's picking that in everybody that works for you. That if they're not actually, if they don't have an intrinsic motivation and they're not passionate about what you do, you can't kind of get them. You can't get anything out of them, and it becomes really hard work, doesn't it?
Well, you can, but what you'll get out of them won't be what you're getting out of the others. And that's when the accountability comes in, and that's when the whole, well, hold on, I'm going above and beyond, this person isn't. Like, why are we still at the same level, or whatever it might be. So, you know, that's why I say getting the right mix. Not that everyone needs to be here, but you need the right mix where the team gels and it works.
I mean, obviously you've had some wins, but you've had, you know, as a team, there's been some losses. And I kind of think at the moment, business is got some losses. You know, they're tough, they're struggling. It's like one more hit, more things to pay. When you are feeling half empty and you are feeling like you got nothing left in you, but you got to show up next week and perform, what do you do? What are your tips? And make sure you write down everything.
No pressure.
How do you get yourself back up again?
I don't know. I don't know. This is my personal view, obviously, but you know, I don't have a level of self-importance in my mind. Like, I'm one of 8 billion people. Like, how special am I? Not very. Like, we're everywhere. Like, there's people everywhere doing different things, etc. Right? So that actually helps me in the sense, like, if you don't have a sense of self-importance, and like I said, I'm not a brain surgeon, so nothing I'm doing is life or death. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and it works, but it's not a double-edged sword, but it works both ways, right? There's nothing I'm going to do in this role that is absolutely groundbreaking, change people's lives. Mm-hmm. Similarly, there's nothing I'm going to do in this role that is going to destroy people's lives. Like, the role's just not that important. So, like, you know, our work isn't like God's work, right? So that allows me to be like a bit of a duck on water. I like to use that analogy where if you're a leader, then it's how you show up to work. So I'm always good energy. I'm always the same. Like, I'm consistent. People can approach me. I'm never moody. I'm never upset. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I don't have a sense of self-importance. I'm like, well, I should be good, so my team's good. Mm-hmm. And if there is a problem, then I need to shield my team from that problem. That comes a bit from sport, where it's like, protect your coach. Mm-hmm. You've got a responsibility to do well, else I don't get sacked, they do. Mm-hmm. You know, so there is that in a good team. There's that real sort of, you're playing for the coach, in tough times, right? Yeah. You know, play for the coach, they've got a family, they're from overseas, like, they don't just get sacked, they've got to shift their kids to another part of the world. Mm. So you should always protect your leader. I'm like that with my national CEO. I need to do a good job. Why? So he can sleep easier at night. If I don't want to be a thorn in his side. But similarly, you know, you need to shield your team from, if it's coming from your board, or it's coming from, I don't know, if you're in a bigger organisation, it's come from outside forces. Mm. You look at inflation, interest rates, tax changes that are coming down the line. Of course, there's a lot of pressure on businesses, but how do you shield your employees from that pressure? So that's why I say duck on water, because your feet are there going bananas, but if anyone looks at you, you seem to be just chilling on the water. So that's what I think a good leader sort of does. It's how they show themselves when things are a little bit turbulent or uncertain. You got to stay with that stable mindset, and you get that in sport, right? You do well, media loves you, everyone wants a photo. You don't do well, like, sack him, he's no good. Yeah. You know, like,
you're under judgment. Yeah, right?
you know. But if you're like this in your thoughts, you're going to have a lot of problems. So when it's good, it's never as good as what it seems, and when it's bad, it's never as bad as what it seems. So you need to try and just stay on that even keel.
I love that. I'm actually just sitting on that, protect the leader. Wouldn't that be cool if you just had every team member? I actually think I've got it. Like, when I'm on leave, they're like, no, you're not picking the phone up. Yeah. No, you know, like, and I was like, I actually think we've got it pretty well. But I think we might steal that and add that to a measurement to go, which ones of your team would actually think about protecting the leader? I'm kind of loving this concept. Watch out, team, we're going to take it back. Because I think if you've got that, you've got trust, don't you?
Absolutely.
Because you're doing it because you don't want to disappoint the person, and you've got to have that relationship with them to do that. But protect the coach. That's a game changer, that one. Where does culture get built, do you think? Is it in the change rooms? Is it behind? Where do you build culture?
I don't know. This, again, like, I'm speaking very frankly here, it's outside the office.
Yeah.
It's off the field. Like, the box tick stuff, you know, hey guys, let's do a team building exercise in the office. Like, no. Hey guys, let's have a 360 review in the change room and, you know, tell everyone what they do well and what they need to improve on. Like, nah. Let's go out, have a good time, actually get to know people. No suits, no training gear on. You actually get you build culture by knowing the person. Right? Not knowing the general manager of operations, like, that's a different person, you know, not knowing and good things will tend to happen. I don't think it's overly complicated.
Yeah, it's not necessarily what people do, it's why they do it, isn't it? And it's connecting with them in a way to understand why they're behaving like that, and then helping them potentially move through that. What's one of the most difficult challenges for you as a player? And
as a player?
What was the outcome? Yeah, as a player.
I think when you're injured, that's the worst. I think that's the worst because you can't help. No, you're useless. Of course, you can still be the good vibe officer in the change room or whatever, but you know, they just tell you that. You're not actually helping them on the field. It's also why I'd never want to be a coach because it's just like you're just helpless on that sideline, right? Like, you know, I think that's the toughest mentally. You know, because your life is completely impacted because the role is like I said earlier, it's a lifestyle, it's a whole thing, it's all encompassing. How do you get through that? There's an element of the discipline and working extra to get back better and stronger, but there's also you know, there's no mistakes, there's always lessons learned. Like you learn a lot about yourself when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
You know, what triggers, you know, doomsday thoughts in your mind? What keeps you positive in your mind? What's your mindset like? How resilient are you? Anna Mears once told me, like, you know, she thought she was really resilient and she broke her neck or whatever it was on the velodrome and then she had to come back from that. Like, she's like, I thought I was so resilient. And she said, but what I found out was resilience is a muscle. Like, no one's born resilient.
No.
There's only one way to become resilient. And that's bad things happening and you getting over it and coming back from it, you know? So, doesn't matter how resilient you might think you are, things can happen that are going to test it, and that test will make you even more resilient provided you come through it, right? So, you know, when things are hard, when there are challenges, when you're injured, you know, you've just got to persevere because A, there's not many other options, and B, you learn a lot and you do become better for it. If everything was good all the time, then nothing would be good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know any different. It'd just be day to day. So it does give you that bit of perspective as well, which I think is really important.
I mean, it's an interesting one when hiring people. Like, I love hiring sports people. I think that just shows teamwork and commitment and that they want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves.
And can I just say, it's not about being like an elite sports person, because you could be playing, I don't know, amateur lacrosse or amateur netball or whatever. I'm telling you now, it'd be the same emotions, it'd be the same effort. Like, okay, it's at a different level, but
you got to rock up for the team to play.
Absolutely.
You can't call in sick, or you can, but you're really disappointing them. And so I just think those traits are just, you know, it's great to get your, whether it's sport or dance or whatever, some kind of activity pieces, it really separates out and builds those skills. You know, as does working early is my second thing I look for, is that they're actually out and getting a job, not 35 and haven't ever worked anywhere or done anything. So some really good bits there. What's the best piece of advice a coach or you've ever been given that you've held on to and you still kind of apply to business now?
For me, it's like you can't lose. There's learning and there's winning. There's no losing. You know, you get that fear of failure. Like, there is no failure. You're going to learn something. And you're going to learn a lot. Or you might still learn something and win, but you'll learn a lot otherwise. And, you know, once you get that ingrained in you a little bit, it's like, yeah, I will take that penalty. Yeah, I will have that shot. Yeah, I will take that risk. I will take that chance. Because what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to learn something. And I'll be better for it. Better. When it's win or lose, you know, that can have, you know, some negative consequences. I see it in my son's soccer team as well. You know, we've got the cup final this weekend. Oh, we need to win. I'm like, you don't need to win. You're going to win.
Just play your best.
You're going to win. Follow the process. Do it's just another game. You're going to learn something, or you're going to win. That's it. That's all that's going to happen. And they're 12, so they understand somewhat the concept. You know, they look at me sometimes like, so we can't lose? It's like, Technically. You might not have a trophy, but you learned something, you know.
No, I love that. What makes a good coach? Like you've worked for coaches. Yeah. What do you think, or what's a habit or something that makes a great coach?
It's really hard, I think, to be an elite coach. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. You know, people choose to go down that path, especially in global football. It's hard because you always got to move. What makes a good one? I think I've had a couple of really good ones, but they've all had different bits. Yeah. You know, some are really humble and, you know, like a servant to the players. That works in certain cultures. You know, others are really sort of discipline focused and fair, which works largely, but does cause some. So, for example, the experienced player who doesn't think they need to run the same as the 19-year-old in pre-season, like it grinds them a little bit. But largely that works because it's about fairness. Everyone does the same, etc. So yeah, I think there's some traits that I've picked up. I won't say the coaches' names because most people in this room probably know who they are. I would have heard of them, but there are little elements, I think, of every coach. No coach has been perfect. They're quite imperfect, to be honest. Yeah. But you're dealing with so many egos. Like, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to be everyone's pick, right? But yeah, there's some really good coaches who just have revolutionised the game as well. So there's the technical part of coaching, strategy, tactics, timing of substitutions, etc. And then there's the human element of coaching, which is, you know, you're like my family. Whatever you need, let me know. I'm here to help you. I'm trying to improve you. I don't want you to play here forever. I want you to go to the next bigger and better thing. Young players, you know, I'll play you. Don't worry, no mistakes. You can do whatever you want. Play free because you've got the talent. So given that self-belief. And to be honest, at the elite level, it's all about belief. Everyone can pass, everyone can kick, everyone runs 12 kilometres a game. Like everyone's attributes are largely the same. It's the technical, how they set the team up, and it's the self-belief and motivation that they can provide in each player, especially the ones who don't start the games. You know, the players who aren't playing. You know, how do you keep them in the tent? How do you keep them motivated as well? Yeah.
Last question. Kylie Minogue, no. Last question. You're hiring for your dream team.
So good.
What skill are you looking for if you're hiring for your dream team? What's the most important skill for you?
Character.
Yeah.
What character are you bringing into the team? Not just for yourself, but for all your colleagues and everyone around you. You don't need a cancer in the team. You always pick on character. For me, anyway. Even if their CV's not as impressive or, you know, they're not as whip smart, you always pick on character for me.
I love that. So amazing, so many great takeaways. We'll open up for some questions, but I feel like we absolutely need to give Bruce a little bit of love. So let's give a big thank you. So good, and you know, we love these fireside because you get kind of stuff that you don't normally get in front of a room. So thank you for sharing some stories. I am going to open up, Narelle, it's in my hand that you might need. In my hand. Yeah, we've got both. To see any questions.
Thanks, Bruce. That was great. Really enjoyed that. I always love the simplicity of a scoreboard in sport because it's just so easy for everybody to digest it. And often it seems much more complex in business to be able to create that simplicity of the scoreboard. What have you found to be a useful translation going from sport to business and that simplicity?
That's a very good question. It's funny we're doing performance reviews now. I just did one this morning, but like I said, I think there's a lot of intangibles. I mean, soccer's an interesting game because not always the best team wins. You look, and it's not really stats driven. If you looked at Messi's stats outside of goals and assists, doesn't run as much. Like, you know, he's not putting in tackles. He's not doing all that. He's not having that many shots. The shots he has go in. You know, so it's a much more nuanced sport. You can smash a team and still lose 3-0. Like, you know, so it is a bit of it's a sport where not always the best team wins, and that can be sometimes hard because your team's doing all the right things and you've got 3 losses in a row, and it's like, no, you've got to keep the faith. We're not changing how we play. We've got to keep going. I think in an office environment, it's not dissimilar. Not about winning or anything like that, but more about, you know, how do you score how well the team's going. For example, I think if you've got commercial outcomes, that's definitely part of it. But I've always said, like, KPIs should always be set on the process, not the outcome. So at the Property Council, they still KPI the outcome, despite my advocacy to do otherwise, because really I've grown membership 10%, yeah, but your churn was really bad. So what you're actually doing is getting people in the marketplace talking the company down because they've had a bad experience, and you're churning and burning through people. But in time, that gravy train's gonna stop, you know. So don't KPI the membership outcome or the membership target. KPI engagement with members or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Because if you do all that right, the result looks after itself. I think that's really important in terms of, and again, it's not a measure, it's not a hard number, but the hard number would be a reflection of the processes that you have in place, the way you go about your work, etc. So yeah, I just think everyone knows as well. I always say to people, like, if you get to the end of the financial years for us, you have regular meetings anyway, but if you get to the end of the year and there's a real discrepancy in how people think they're performing or how the team thinks they're performing, you've got a fundamental problem. You know, you've got to nip things in the bud early. I always say to my team, if I'm doing something that's kind of grinding your gears, just tell me. Because what I don't want is grinding the gears to become an actual thing, and then you tell me 6 months later and you're really annoyed that, I don't know, I'll do whatever. Yeah. So yeah, nipping things in the bud early, and then it's about that open, honest, two-way dialogue as well. And I think if you get good processes, KPI the process, KPI the behaviours, you know, and I think too many people KPI the outcome, and people break a million things to get the outcome, but they've broken a million things on the way through, and that's bad.
Good question. Alice.
Hey Bruce, you've transformed a number of businesses now. What are the first 3 things you do when you walk into that business?
Good question. Definitely the first thing I do is get to know the people, like the team. The second thing I do is actually decide if this is the team to carry it forward. Are these my people, or do I need to make some changes? I think that's really important. And I don't know, I've always inherited teams, if you like, in my roles, and I've always changed them, you know, and I'm real confident in that, insofar that it's gotten good results. Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's about like protecting the coach, you know, like, not that you bring the same people to where you go or whatever, but there's a big difference between the person who employed you and gave you an opportunity and allowed you to grow, and the person who just came in. You've been there, you had a way of doing things, they're trying to change it because the organisation could do better, and you get some resistance. Like I said, much easier to do in a football environment than an environment like I'm in now. And I've inherited some good teams, just not great. So it's just like, how do we go to that next level? But I think, I haven't given you 3, I've given you 2, but they're like the key things for me. Get to know the people, build that rapport. Obviously there's the strategies and everything that comes within the business. Are these the people that are going to get through the business plan to achieve the strategy? You need to make a measured decision on that. And some people you can work with, and others, you know, maybe, but it'll take me 3 years to get there. I'm impatient, I want to do it in 18 months. Better off just getting that person to opt out somehow and getting someone who will help us get there quicker. Because largely, in my experience, that's what the boards wanted. And largely that's why they've brought me into places sometimes, like, we want you to do this, or we want to achieve that. And I think that's the only way to get there.
Great question. Sometimes the team that gets you to here isn't the same team that will get you to there.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard thing to realise sometimes, I think. So, great question. Cara.
Thanks, Bruce. You talked about being amongst lots and lots of egos, perhaps not...
Still am in this role, funnily enough.
So how do you actually work with people who have got big egos to achieve those outcomes when you're actually trying to drive the change?
Yeah. I think it's like I was watching a podcast Obama was on the other day, and he talks about, like, you know, when he got into the Senate, it was like, wow, you know, you walk in, meet all these people, fancy titles, you've heard of them all, yada yada, and so they start talking, and you're like, well, that person's actually not that smart, like, you know. And he said, don't get me wrong, some people are like amazing, but there's heaps who aren't. And so then I became president, and, you know, you got the G20 and the G7, and it's like, you know, and he's like, there's some really stupid people around that time. And of course, there's some really impressive ones. But his point was, and how he rounded it out is, like, you know, there's some people who've been given the confidence, the encouragement, and the titles that makes them feel like they belong at a certain table. Right? Like, there's a lot of people who are of much better in all facets, who haven't been given the confidence, haven't been given the opportunity, and even when they get to the table, they're reluctant to speak because they don't feel like they belong, right? So he was just trying to explain, like, guys, I've been at the table at the G7, let me tell you, not that impressive, you know? And that's been my experience as well. That's why I found it so funny, right? Managing partner of blah, managing director of this, CV as long as your arm. But you quickly realise, like, well, they're not much different to, you know, whoever you might have come across in your work. So I think it's about, you know, you need to have the confidence, you need to be given the opportunity. And this happens a lot around when we talk about diversity and inclusion. We've got different programs, you know. It's about, if the door's ajar, just push it open. Say yes. You know, take that opportunity. And egotistical people largely have some insecurity, right? I've found the most impressive, you know, the people who need, you know, think of like a Natasha Stott-Despoja, or, you know, these luminary types, our governor at the moment, Francis Adamson. There's some people, they're so nice. They're so giving. Because they know. They're satisfied within themselves, and they're legitimately amazing, right? No ego required, because everyone else sings their praises. They don't need to say anything, you know, and I think managing the egos sometimes, you know, you push back against them. I do with my members now. Why would I walk into the Treasurer's office and ask that? Tell me. Because I'm the one who's going to look like an idiot. Can you explain that to me? And I can tell you sometimes the explanation is like you're talking to a kid. Insofar that, because it's good for me and that's sort of what we want. And it's like, no, we can't do that. We can, but we need some evidence-based rationale as to why. So I think you need to push back against egos, and in the end, they'll respect you for it. Maybe not in that moment, but in the next month or the next year, they'll be like, oh man, that guy's it's a bit hard to convince. We better come with a good reason as to why. Because he asks a lot of questions. You know, you've got to push back, and the same in sport. You know, you just push back against egos, and they start to treat you a little bit differently.
Amazing. Well, I think absolutely the most humble and enjoyable person that you could just sit there and talk to all day. So many great takeaways, so honest, so like at the end of the day, sometimes it's not rocket science, isn't it? It's be a good human, be nice to others, and put your best foot forward. And sometimes those things are some of the simplest things that we all need to hear. So for the last time, please join me in thanking Bruce for his time. Thank you for joining us on The Ultimate Leader's Edge. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed making it. We'd love for you to follow us, like and share so we can reach as many leaders as we possibly can. If you want to go deeper in your leadership journey and stop being the bottleneck, then you can follow us at performancecollectiveacademy.com.